Hello, this is Christian Sullivan, and you're listening to The Sullivan Report. Hi, I'm Chris Sullivan, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Philly Servider. Philly, what's going on?
More aggravation from what I'm hearing in the streets.
Yes, exactly.
Well, apparently, there's a problem going on in Q8 for almost a month now with no backing from the union. At first, they didn't come down and said they were afraid to because they didn't want to be involved in a job action and they could get in trouble, which is absolute bullshit.
Right.
I mean, there's been things worse than that have gone on, and the business agents always showed up and somebody from the union to take the guys back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and what they always said in the past, Harry's famous saying is, well, if you're in a fight, you got to get hit sometimes. But the only problem is the only guys seem to be getting hit are the guys in the street.
Right.
The union's afraid they're getting hit. I thought they were from under the same lamppost as the rest of us.
Right.
You know?
Is it true that he came to the garage the other day and said, make it quick if you're going to talk to me about this stuff? Somebody was telling me that. I don't know if they told you that too. When Harry came to speak and give out contracts? What
I heard was he only was there to give out the contracts and nobody was allowed to ask any questions about what was going on.
And why was that?
Because they bullshitted the guys and said they didn't want to get jammed up in a job action and get the union in trouble. So they weren't. Somebody bullshitted them, told them they're not allowed to ask those questions on the floor.
What is Harry there for then?
To hand out contract books, apparently, because we made it an issue the last time we spoke. All of a sudden, miraculously, they're done.
Oh, man. So this guy...
And here's the best part. The guys were told, this is what I'm getting secondhand, the guys were told that the reason it took so long is they were thinking about extending the contract, so they didn't want to print it. This contract should have been printed a year and a half ago at the latest.
Right.
And given out. And if they wanted to do an extension, they could have handed out a supplement to it.
Absolutely.
That went with it. I mean, that's just common sense. So they're so full of shit.
Don't the members deserve to see what's in their contract?
They should see every detail in their contract before they even vote on it.
Right.
Not given a piece of a paper with some highlights that everybody wants to vote yes to, and then you don't see all the hidden shit.
Right.
Like all this healthcare savings, they took out all these quick meds the guys would have to use, to go get a doctor's note. Otherwise, they'd be stuck out longer.
Right.
Because if you're out sick, in a lot of cases, you need a doctor's note to come back.
Right.
The problem is, how hard is it to make a doctor's appointment these days?
Yeah.
The doctors are in 3 days a week. And the worst is, they don't even want to give you a note.
Yeah, they really don't.
Unless you're bleeding or busted up. You know, like, what are you here for? You're better. You're wasting my time.
Yeah, they don't want to... Also, they don't want to legally tie themselves into a note, that's going to bind them into some kind of a situation. So they're very hesitant to write the note.
So when they talk about the lie with the healthcare savings, that they stop guys from going to emergency rooms,
right.
They just made it harder for guys to get the notes they needed from the first meds they were going to because they considered emergency rooms.
Right.
Nobody's going to emergency room with colds. And then here's the best part. Now they want you to go to certain places that are affiliated with GHI and HIP so they can kick more money back into that they can count as a savings. What about the hundreds of millions of dollars over the years that the Municipal Labor Council gave to the city out of the Health Stabilization Fund? So it's like a 3-card Monte game. They take money from here, give it to the city. The city says this, and they said it was a savings. There's a lot of other ways to come up with a savings,
right? But
they're just bullshitting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys are getting hurt. The best part is the guys are getting hurt with higher deductibles, co-pays, and now they can't even go to a regular first med to get a note when they're sick. They got to wait 3 days to see a doctor.
Right. But just getting back for a quick second back to Q8 and the guys having to deal with these shenanigans going on over there. What do you think is of the situation where they're not granting their leaves and they're not making their charts, but all the other surrounding garages are making their charts?
Well, one thing, you can't force them to give them their leaves. That's never going to happen.
Right.
There's a dispute going on between management and the guys, the way they're being treated over there. And the odd thing is, the only district that doesn't dump pretty much in the whole city
right.
always seems to have these problems. They always send a new guy in to cause problems.
Right.
And as far as the chart goes, the contract book says charts are to be canceled on a district-wide seniority list.
Right.
So the contract says. So how do you cancel a chart in another district and bring them to that district to work? And the best part is that district is a home base for the business agent, Patty Quinn.
Yeah.
So he's letting management and the union and our union brothers screw his own guys over from his own district. Right. And the best is The guy's coming from next door, from Q10, which is another business agent's home base. So they get 4 hours in the chart, and the guys think they're doing great. Meanwhile, if somebody told them what they're doing, they're actually coming over being scabs.
Right.
They should come over and do what everybody else is doing, or the union say you can't do that.
Right.
And let them deal with themselves. But why is the union letting them bring it, cancel charts in another district, in another zone,
right,
and bring them in?
Right.
When it's the charts if you're short, charts will be canceled on a district-wide basis. Just like when they had Sandy, the guys from the north, right? I'm an old guy, Queens North, there was north and south, now they call it Queens East. The guys from the north couldn't work their charts until the guys in the south worked. Mm-hmm. So how are they canceling charts in the south and bringing them into the north? Right. How do they cancel charts in other districts, 7 and 11, and bringing them into Q8?
And how is the union going along with this?
Because they ain't doing shit. And nobody's bringing it to their attention. And on top of that, what does this tell the other districts? That if they have a problem, they're by themselves too? Right. You're on your own?
Right.
We're going to leave you out there?
Right.
Because this ain't what a union does.
Right.
We stick together and we back each other up.
Right. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it used to be. You know?
Well, and
it's not like that anymore. Not with this guy at the helm.
And all the harassment that's going along with it. I mean, it's the same tactics the manager always used, the same tactics I always fought, the same tactics I always argue with Harry about. They write these bullshit, fictitious complaints.
Right.
And Harry says, let the lawyers worry about it. But then again, the only guys getting hit are the guys in the street.
Right. Harry's pay isn't being affected, so let the lawyers figure it out.
Let the lawyers figure it out, which means the lawyer's going to cut a deal, which usually comes out to somebody's losing money.
Now, here's the best part. These guys got a whole bunch of complaints. I think there was like 200 complaints were written. And they already have guys going down there next week for these complaints.
From what I'm being told, there's some guys going down Thursday already. They fast-tracked them right to the advocate to be heard. What happened? I heard Patty Quinn was down there and said, finally told the guys, the union's got your back 100%. Why these complaints going downtown already? You know, why they, and they're bullshit ones. They're giving guys complaints for not going to the right bathroom break. We never had assigned bathroom places to go out in the field because the district is so far.
Now, from what I'm hearing, management is really harassing the guys out in the field. You have one chief pulling guys over, saying that they're not putting on the service brake, at the light. They're still in the truck, and they're not putting the service brake on.
I would love for them to tell the whole city to put that service brake on every time they're at a light.
Yeah.
Especially in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And especially if the brake locks and they lose air while they're sitting there.
Right. Then you have another guy who he just happened to flip over a can because there was a bunch of maggots in it, so he wanted the can to clean out, and guy puts on his 350, chief puts on his 350 that, I observed sanitation worker flipping over a can. Just like, really picky and stuff.
Not throwing the can, flipping over the can.
Right.
But meanwhile, the best part is, and I'm not taking any other sanitation worker down, but I always said this. The guy that ran down the street, right, and got done and dumped by 8:30 in the morning,
right.
I know all his pails are back immaculately. And there's no wind blowing down any of those streets, knocking them over.
Right. Seatbelts are on.
Or somebody moving them and putting them upside down. They want it both ways. You put the can back, no problem. But when it's convenient for them,
right?
When it's not convenient for them, it's the same bullshit they did in Q11 with a couple of guys with the pail not going back directly where it was, but it was still placed back exactly standing up where it was.
Right.
They just lie. They have this culture. When the two-man truck program started, there was supposed to be no disciplinary complaints written off of it.
Right.
There was an appeal process. Mm-hmm. But because there's so many trucks in the citywide bank, all right, and it's pretty much hard to go through an appeal process or break the bank, they came out with an order that said write them up for anything else. And what upper management basically told middle and lower management is write them any complaint you could think of. And they get caught lying on these complaints. They've gotten caught lying, writing bullshit complaints so many times.
And nothing happens to them.
Because you know what? If you're in a fight, you got to get hit. The only people getting hit, like I said, again, is the guys in the street.
Actually, one of the sanitation workers wanted me to ask you that specific question. What happens if two sanitation workers are working together and they observe chiefs doing the wrong thing? What do they do about it? Like running lights, that kind of thing?
I would call 911. Give them the plate number. Driving erratically, running lights.
Right. I tried to get him on
but we already
video.
went through that route because 911 ain't going to do shit because one of the chiefs will call up over there and try to get it squashed. I wish a homeowner or maybe a guy like that doesn't have too much time on their hands could videotape it.
Right, absolutely. Yep, you're true. Also, what do you think about the fact that the business agent isn't around and Harry's not taking a stance against these guys constantly being harassed out in the field, not showing up to do anything about it?
I think it's terrible. I know where I would have been 24/7, 7 days a week, whatever it was, 12 o'clock at night, 4 in the morning. Oh, I want to go back to one thing. The guys that are getting their charts canceled and being sent over, what about all the guys being forced nights in those districts to fill those slots? Because I heard they're even sending guys over out of town on nights to do your work, which they tried doing that about 6-7 years ago, and it was a whole big to-do with Doherty ripping out Albano over that because it was technically a double move. They planned to put extra guys nights in another district, knowing they were moving them over to another district, And I know what's going on in those districts. All the guys, the shops are telling them, don't worry about it, we're making charts. Yeah, but they ain't going nights.
Well, I hear that some garages are upset, like Q10, because now some of these guys have to go nights, so they're pissed off at Q8. Meanwhile...
They should be pissed off at their business agent in the union because they ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's what they should be pissed off at.
Maybe they should take the harassment of certain management members that, people are trying to address the situation and, make sure that we get somebody there that's good,
Maybe they should take it upon themselves to stick them, because now they're getting stuck. They're being forced nights, That's what they should do. They should band together on their own. They shouldn't have... It's to the point, why should I be told by a fictitious business agent or a fictitious union president to do something when I know what the right thing... We all know what the right thing to do is.
Right.
They know what the right thing to do is.
But I don't understand. Like, these guys aren't doing anything wrong. They're following... Imagine this, Philly. They made everybody go to a defensive driving class. And then they taught you not only about defensive driving, but they also taught you about Vision Zero.
Yeah.
And when you try to follow it, they harass you. It happens to me. I try to follow the rules the way it's written in the book, the record manual, whatever. They harass you. They write you up. They don't really want you to work safely.
Because it's like everything else on this job. They want it both ways. They want the job done, but they want the opportunity to bang you whenever they can if they don't like the way the job's getting done.
That, or if you hurt somebody and, a serious accident, they want to be able to hammer you on that too.
Well, the only problem with that is if somebody gets seriously hurt, the city gets sued as well as the worker, and the city has to represent both of you.
Right.
So they're going to pay either way on that one.
Right.
But with any complaint, they want their cake and eat it too.
Right.
Like when they cut the steps, when Harry had them cut the steps off the trucks.
Right.
To slow the guys down.
Right.
Right? And guys were hanging off the trucks at the time.
Right.
As long as they were running to the dump, they really weren't seen by anybody in local management. If you had an out-of-town chief driving through, or a safety officer, then it was seen. Right? Just like when they do two sides of the street, nobody says nothing.
Right.
And I see them still darting across. I see them on the expressway with the doors open still. I was driving to New Jersey about a month ago. Here's the best one. I like seeing one thing. I seen a parade of brooms and backup vehicles on the Bell Parkway. I think it was down by maybe Brooklyn 11, down towards Coney Island, right? And I says, wow, we finally got the ins and outs. We got more work. Good.
Right.
Then I get over into Staten Island, and I'm in the HOV lane. And I'm in the HOV lane. I see the lights flashing like about a mile ahead. Right. And I'm saying, what the hell is going on up there? And I see cars the last minute zip. Over the double HOV lane that you're not allowed to do.
Right.
So finally, I make the zip, because now I see it's a sanitation truck. I zip over the two white lines.
Right.
And I get closer. It's a Sandman by himself, throwing a piece of a tire, from a tractor trailer, in the hopper. By himself, with no backup vehicle, in the HOV lane in Staten Island 2, on the Staten Island Expressway. And here's the best part. I get a little further up. I see the supervisor in the right-hand shoulder on his phone.
Oh, man.
Why wasn't
What happens if somebody plows into that guy?
Why wasn't he backing the guy up?
Right.
Did the guy know any better? He should have had a backup vehicle. We don't just run out on the highway, especially without a backup vehicle.
Right.
Backing us up. And the foreman, in all good consciousness, was on the right side shoulder on his phone.
Right.
Now, the borough had to know what was going on. The district had to know what's going on.
Right.
They were worried about a 311 call, whatever it was, to clean it up.
Right.
But they didn't follow any safety procedures.
Right.
Is the foreman going to get banged, or the super, or the chief from the borough that told him to go do it?
Right. I can't believe
And wait,
that
it gets better. I tried to call 311.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't take the complaint because I didn't remember what exit it was exactly. I said, it's right before the Bayonne Bridge exit.
Right.
I says, I don't know the exact number.
Right.
Well, sir, we need to know the exact number. I should have made one up. I wasn't even thinking because I was trying to concentrate on traffic and driving.
Right.
But I was so fuming that guy was out there by himself
Yeah.
throwing that tire tread in the back of the hopper with no backup vehicle.
Wow.
Whatsoever.
He's really lucky. He could have gotten plowed into.
I hope he's listening to this, because if he doesn't know it was wrong, he should know it was wrong.
I mean, look at those DOT vehicles with those huge bumpers on the back. There's a reason why they're there.
And you want to hear another thing that you mentioned that? I left Q8 one day, and I see the lot cleaning guys on the conduit in the left-hand lane
Right.
doing the weeds. And I back up. I pull around 150th Street. I come back. I go, what are you doing? Oh, we're cleaning over here. I go, you cleaning over here? I says, you're in the left-hand lane. You got no backup vehicle. Somebody's going to drive into you, kill you.
Right.
So I made a big to-do about it, and lot cleaning got those vehicles where the big bumper comes down behind them.
Oh, okay.
For a backup
right.
vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen those.
You know, I think it was the guys from Brooklyn Lots at the time. They were working in Queens.
Oh, okay.
But that's how we got those vehicles.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah. But
Wow.
I still can't believe they had a guy in the left-hand lane on a Saturday morning. Everybody's zipping to try to get down to South Jersey or wherever the hell they're going.
Right.
You know, but that's okay. Don't thank nobody for that one. I guess that guy doesn't have a wife and kids that matter, God forbid.
Oh, man. Getting back to QA, Philly, you have any other thoughts?
If the union had Q8's back 100%, or even 10%, with all the unfair labor practices going on there, with the phantom complaints and the harassment in the street and bosses trying to goat them into arguments and getting in their face and yelling at them and pointing at them and trying to incite them, all right, how come the union hasn't gone to court and filed any paperwork to get some kind of relief?
They have the lawyer.
The lawyer gets, I think, $500,000 retainer for the year. And that's not only the lawyer for the complaints at the borough. They have another labor lawyer from Strook and Strook, Alan Klinger, who gets God knows how much on retainer.
Wow.
That they could have filed for a court order for, I think it's injunctive relief, to stop what's going on.
Right.
Like a ceasefire.
Right.
And get a labor management meeting to straighten it all out. But they didn't do that. You know, they just let shit go, and they're paying these lawyers all this money on retainers, so they're leaving Q8 out there to hang. So who's next?
Why would Harry not fight this just on a personal level? Like, you're messing with my union, or, you know, like, I don't understand his thought process.
Well, I guess that's for the same reason you have to really be a union leader inside and out, not just on the outside.
Right.
To look good.
Around election time.
I mean, here's a better thing. I didn't even know this. I read in the Chief a few weeks ago, which I still buy the Chief every week.
Right.
And the New York City carpenters, the carpenters that work for the city, they're in the carpenters union. Well, about a year ago, the city took away their medical benefits. And they had to go to court to get them reinstated.
Wow.
And that was a clear violation of the Triborough Amendment. And the Triborough Amendment is what says when you're working without a contract, nothing can change in that contract until you settle a new contract.
Wow.
So they clearly violated the Triborough Amendment, all right, which is a protection from the Taylor Law. Because they had the Taylor Law, we can't do nothing if we don't have a contract.
Right.
And then the union said, well, then we got to have something. And that's where the Triborough Amendment came in. That was to protect our ass. Because before that, you couldn't strike or do a job action or a sick out without the penalties. And they could say, well, we're taking this from you, we're taking this from you. Like they do in other municipalities at times.
Right.
So in the great city of New York, with a Democrat progressive mayor, they took away the medical benefits to the New York City carpenters. Of course, under prevailing wage, the wage went up for the carpenters on the outside, so their wage had to come up. So to be spiteful, they took away their medical. So I'm being told some agency, they had to go to court and get it back. So some agency got it back and some didn't. But how come almost a year later we're reading about it in the Chief?
Yeah.
Where was the Municipal Labor Council on that? Where was Gary LaBarber, the head of the Commission's Trade Council? You know, where were these people? How come we didn't even know about it? So you want to be a union leader for the whole city, and you're selling everybody out, just like the medical and everything else.
We're losing more and more. we're already up to what, tier 6?
Yep, tier 6, and there was no reason for tier 6 and for us to lose our 3/4. And I said this, I think, the last time. We had it written into our contract, and we were paying for it. Okay, these new guys, they got something less, and it's still costing them more over the long run.
The new guys,
and the question is, if they're paying that extra money for it,
right,
and they don't use it, are they going to get that money back when they retire?
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. So, the head of the Municipal Labor Council, which is Harry Nespoli,
right,
lets the mayor in the city of New York and the Office of Labor Relations violate the Triborough Amendment with the Carpenters Union, right? And does nothing about it, but yet endorses the mayor.
Yeah, I don't get
How
that
do you
either.
endorse the mayor? How do these other unions endorse the mayor?
Even if he supposedly has a backroom deal to get us a raise because you supported him early, you see in the track, the pattern here of him not supporting labor and undercutting all these unions.
Well, and here's the best part, right? So
it's a deal with the devil.
And here's the best part. We come to find out later on is, and I said it from the beginning, when the superior officers cut that deal, and Harry let them cut it because out of the head of the Municipal Labor Council, I got paperwork and minutes from a meeting he was in that said to all the other unions, before you cut any deal, you better let us know what you're doing. He was in on it. Alan Brower was in on it. Klinger was in on it, and all the superior officers were in on it, and they screwed the PBA and the Uniform Firemen's Association.
Wow.
And by screwing them, we got screwed too. And what was done over that? That's a union leader. You let somebody, while arbitration's going on with a uniform force, you let other uniform forces cut a contract that undermines everybody, and he's going to say, well, I can't control anybody from cutting it. Well, as the head of the Municipal Labor Council, I think you could have. Because when the cops and firemen wanted to protest outside our union hall,
Really?
25 Cliff Street, when they lost, Patterson took away their 20-year pension. When Patterson didn't reinstate or re-sign, what is it? Every 2 years, the legislation had to be signed for their 20-year pension and their 3/4. But when he didn't do it, they wanted to have Patterson was coming down to speak to the unions,
right?
And the cops and firemen wanted to protest outside our union hall, and Harry was shitting bricks.
Really?
Because he didn't want another unions protesting outside the union hall.
Let me ask you a question now, just real quick. What was going on the inside with Harry? What was he? He was really nervous.
Yeah, he when he heard they were going to come down and protest, man, he shit a brick and he flew off the handle, and he supposedly, he went nuts. He went nuts when he heard that. He had to call Patty Lynch and the Irishman Cassidy, and try to broker a private meeting with Patterson when Patterson was there. Right. To try to straighten that out, which nothing happened, because look at how many years later before it finally got straightened out.
Yeah.
But they actually wanted to picket our union hall.
Wow.
Because of that. So that goes to show you what this guy does. They take away their pensions.
Let me ask you a question, Philly. Do you think that instead of it being malicious, he's just not that smart? He can't foresee 10 steps ahead, and he keeps getting trapped up,
A little bit of that. He's got bad advisors, because depending on Alan Brower,
yes, man.
Well, that's the business. What I'm talking about as far as the consultant.
Oh, okay.
And the lawyer Brower and Klingler. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, they represent the other unions too. They got their hand in the pot for everybody. Mm-hmm. So they're not just representing us.
Right.
Just like when we got the supplemental annuity fund, right, for the retirees.
Yeah.
Brower brokered the same deal for the officers. Harry went nuts over that when he found out that they got the same deal and they got more. It's just unbelievable. So
I don't understand. This guy's been there for 30 years.
And here's the best part. Mm-hmm. While he was the vice president back in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. DC 37 and the teachers union was offered like the 0-0s, right?
Right.
And the teachers union knocked it down the first time, the UFT. Mm-hmm. All right. DC 37 passed it, and then the UFT passed it afterwards with some changes, right?
Right.
But the only problem was with DC 737 passed it, a lot of their board members went to jail after that and were removed because they fixed the election in their own basement. It was a handwritten election.
Really?
With Giuliani, yeah. And a couple of their board members got removed and had to go to jail. Because they sold out the whole city. because the biggest union in the city took those zeros, and they told the rest of us, you have to take it. And even after they went to jail, you think the unions went back and said, hey, wait a minute, that was a bogus, you told us it was on patent bargaining, and it was fixed.
Right.
Do you think they came back and said, do you think the unions even said, we want to reopen it now? Because it was done under false pretenses?
Why don't they ever use the leverage they have? I don't understand.
Because, you know what? Just like this constitutional amendment bullshit, right?
Oh, yeah, that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about.
It's not about...
They are going on and on. They're putting up everything around the garage. Okay. That's what Harry talked about when he came there.
Yeah, you're right. And here's the best part. And I got some articles. The controller from Suffolk... not the controller. The county executive that used to be out in Suffolk County, this guy Levy, he works for a private company now, and there's a legislator out there. I don't know if I said this the last time. She put a bill in that said, I forgot her name. She put a bill in that said, you're using public money to fund public money to fund a private entity, which is a union. So you're taking tax dollars, giving it to the unions, and letting them be on release time to run their own business.
Right.
So she had a bill in to try to get that stopped. All right. Levy has a lawsuit in to get that stopped because he's saying you can't use public tax dollars to help fund these unions by giving them release time. You're using public money to let them be off from their regular jobs.
Right.
This has got nothing to do with the pensions, all right? Actually, the pension just made 13%, they said the other day.
Right.
It's nothing to do with the pensions. It's about them losing their release time. And they got everybody bullshitted that their pension's going to change.
So what you're saying is my business agent might actually have to show up to work?
Absolutely. They may have to show up. They may have to show up and work.
Why would I want to vote no to that?
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. But the only people talking about this... right? Or the unions. You talk to the general public, they don't know nothing.
Right.
They know nothing about voting yes or no, but the unions got a big push in, and I said this, I think, the last time. There's two reasons why. Number one, to get out the vote, so they could flip everything to Democratic, right? And they'll never change the pension in New York State. I mean, it's not underfunded. Maybe some of the other pensions are, but I don't believe NICES is underfunded. And I want to see what this 13% they made, how much money the city takes back.
Yeah. So they don't want to touch it.
They ain't going to touch that.
Right, because they're making money from it.
Exactly. But in the past, I was told that anything over that 7%, they got to take back.
Right. Well, then you might have a chance of it being changed.
But if they left it there all these years, you would never have any problem there. And I still don't believe there's a problem there.
It's like the Social Security fund.
And I think it's all bullshit about... I definitely know NICE is not underfunded.
Right.
Because they... And when they talk about the city having to make their payment, are they talking about the money they take out of our paycheck? Putting in there, and then you got to remember another thing. The union likes, if the unions are doing such a great job, why don't they save some money and get rid of dues check off and have us mail our own dues in? Because the city makes money off of that too. Right. They get a cut.
I didn't know that.
On a dues check off. You think they give them 100%?
I just thought it was a pain in the ass for the business agent to go around and collect the money.
This day and age, you could have it deducted automatically from your savings account or from your paycheck if you want. Right. You know what I'm saying? They can come right out and go right to the union. There's ways to get it done. Right. But the city is definitely getting a piece of that money. Wow. All right? But getting back, you said Social Security. What these new guys have, it's called Social Security offset. Right. Which means if you work for the city 25 years, and whatever money you put into Social Security for those 25 years, right, gets offset when you collect your pension. Right. And you're Social Security eligible, which means... say your Social Security check is supposed to be $1,700 a month, and they calculate, 25 of those years you worked at a municipal, the city of New York. Right. So we're going to give you the $1,700, but NICE is going to turn around and take maybe $500 a month back out of your pension.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So that helps the city. Right. And NICES. So now NICES gets more money. Absolutely. Out of your Social Security check. So I'd like to know how they're going to figure that out. And while we're talking about money, right, in modern technology, I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I don't understand how guys don't know how much annuity money is going into their account every week.
Well, you had a great idea when you said, that should be part of the the
I should have a choice. You should have a choice, 457 or 401k. Right. Same difference.
Who's running it now?
Alan Brower. He's running hours. He's running the foreman. He's probably running the annuities for God knows about 5 or 6 unions.
Right. But also, when you said that it should be part of the the pay stub, when you're looking at what's going in every week, that should be part of it.
It should be on the computer. It's all on the computer now. It's not that hard.
Not an annual statement of just a lump sum of what.
Oh, that's the other thing. If they make the lump sum payment every 3 months.
Yeah.
How much interest are they making on that money?
Right.
Is it going in every week?
Mm-hmm.
No. Is it going in every month? I doubt it. Probably every 3 or 6 months they're making that deposit.
Right.
And who even knows if it's accurate?
Mm-hmm.
But so we talked about Social Security offset. We talked about Q8. We talked about how we let all the superior officers union negotiate a subpar contract that bit us all in the ass.
Right. Explain that a little bit more, how that worked. You had all these unions, officer unions, that were allowing the city to, undercut the amount of raise that they were trying to get the men?
What they did was, for whatever reason, they all got together and cut a deal that they would take less than what they thought they deserved for who knows what they got on the table. Because remember I told you about DC 37, right? When they rigged their election back in the 90s and a couple of them went to jail, they got a no layoff clause under the table. Okay, so what did these superior officers get under the table? Did they get something that was coming down the road? Did they get the 12% for being the bargaining unit? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What did they gain by undercutting the workforce, all the workers? And how didn't Harry side up with Lynch and Cassidy and Seabrook at the time? And let's see, maybe Joey Colangelo from the the guys, the mechanics, right? How did they all get together and say, wait a minute here, what's going on?
Right.
And Gregory and Floyd, who has the school safety agents, all right, and the traffic agents, having to say, wait a minute here, what's going on?
Right.
Why are you letting this go through? This is going to hurt all of us.
Right.
How come they didn't try to do a court order to stop them?
I just can't imagine what their motivation would be. I hope it's not something sinister. Because
No, I know what Harry did. He did what they did back in the 90s. He said, well, the other unions did it, so now we got to get it. All right? So he basically said, we settled the contract that we couldn't do with Bloomberg, but he screwed us anyhow.
Right.
Because remember, you got the raise, but all your co-pays went up anyhow. You can't use the walk-in First Med anymore because the $50 co-pay.
Right.
So they change all the other stuff. So whatever you got, you lost. Because that's what they do. Because nobody realizes, and then they wonder why union membership is down throughout the country.
I wanted to talk to you about that as well. What do you think about this problem with the Supreme Court being loaded up with conservative judges, not making it so easy for people to join unions? Or
no, that's not what's happening. What they're saying is, I shouldn't or you shouldn't have to be forced.
Right.
To pay union dues, all right, under dues checkoff for your money, your dues, to go for things you don't believe in. How many working union members actually believe by letting illegal immigrants in, right, and stay here and not be deported, right? And that's what I'm saying, illegal immigrants. Yes, the country was built on legal immigrants like my grandparents and my uncles who served and learned the language and took the test to become citizens and came here legally.
Right.
All right, we're talking about illegal people that we're paying for. How does any union member endorse any politician that wants these people to stay, that we got to pay for everything? You're losing 37% of your taxes out of your check to go for people that don't even belong here. And, by the way, those same people are the same ones that are causing the wages to be driven down in private construction because they're working scab jobs and they're not becoming union members. And that's a big reason why another big reason why union membership is down.